Hello and welcome to this episode of Driving for Better Business video podcast, The Hidden Risk. In this series, we're speaking with leading experts to uncover the often overlooked risks that impact driver safety, operational resilience and corporate responsibility. These insights will help you take informed strategic action to reduce those risks, improve safety and run a high-performance operation. Driving for Better Business is an award-winning free programme from National Highways. With a wealth of free tools, resources and case studies, it gives managers everything they need to pursue best practice in managing driver safety. In this episode, we'll be talking to Stefan Szrama, Head of QHSE Culture, Communications and Fleet Safety at Mitie, and we'll be looking at the following areas: keeping employees who drive for work safer, keeping other road users safe, reducing business interruption, reducing incident-related costs, promoting safe driving habits and skills for employees, complying with the law and reducing risks of prosecution for failing to fulfil legal obligations. To tell us more about this, we can now join our presenter, Julie Maddocks.
Thanks very much, Glenn, and hello there. Welcome to this DFBB video podcast. I'm delighted to say that we're joined today by Stefan Szrama from Mitie. Hello, Stefan, how are you?
Hi, I'm great, and it's lovely to be here. Thank you.
No, thank you. This is a very important subject we're talking about today, isn't it? Is motor incident investigations. In a nutshell, though, what does that mean?
Yeah, so put simply, motor incident investigations are a structured process that help us to identify what happened, why it happened, and what we need to do to prevent it happening again. It's important that investigations should not be about blame, they should fundamentally be about learning. So when an incident occurs, it's important that we gather the right information, we analyse the facts, we work to uncover the immediate and underlying and root causes, and the goal ultimately is to identify meaningful actions that improve safety, strengthen systems, reduce risk, and keep people safe. Good investigations bring clarity, protects our colleagues and the public, and also gives us an opportunity to drive continual improvement.
But we're all busy getting the job done. Why should we take time to look at an incident investigation? I mean, you've mentioned some of the benefits, but in a nutshell, what actually would it benefit an organisation?
Yeah, it's a fair question. I mean, everybody's busy trying to get their job done, and on the surface, some incidents can feel quite minor. However, if we take the time to properly investigate, it does actually protect the business, our people and our clients in really meaningful ways. So a couple of examples. Investigations will help to prevent repeat incidents. If we don't understand why something has happened, we're essentially giving it permission to happen again, and the next time, of course, it could be far more serious. If we look at the facts, it helps us to understand the immediate underlying and root causes, which is where the real improvement opportunities happen. Secondly, investigations are part of our legal responsibility. We must be able to demonstrate due diligence, involve our colleagues and take corrective action when things go wrong. And a solid investigation gives us that assurance. Investigations also help to build trust and strengthen our safety culture. When people see that investigations are handled fairly and that lessons are genuinely being learnt, they're far more willing to report issues, and that transparency ultimately makes everyone safer. And finally, investigations in the long run do save time and money. Every incident has a cost, whether it's damage, vehicle downtime, hire vehicles, insurance, lost productivity, and potentially damage to reputational impact. If we learn from the investigations and we learn from the small events, the crucial thing is we prevent the big incidents from happening. And so investigations shouldn't be seen as a burden, they should be seen as an investment in keeping our people safe, keeping vehicles on the road and keeping the business operation running smoothly.
There's a lot to take into consideration there, actually, Stefan, and particularly the legal requirements, which we'll come back to in just a moment, if we may. But personally, for you, your career has seen many twists and turns, but all focusing on safety. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are?
Yeah, so my journey has certainly seen plenty of variety, but what has been a constant thread throughout has been people, safety and improvement. It's something I've always had a strong interest in. So if I go back to leaving school, I began my career in the military, and that gave me a broad foundation across fleet management, project delivery, facilities management and general leadership principles. But the most rewarding chapter of my time in the military was while serving at the Defence Hall of Transport, which is Europe's largest driver training facility. And the highlight of my career at that location was leading a small team responsible for the development and delivery of training for a new vehicle introduced to support operations, the Mastiff Protected Patrol Vehicle. And for my work in that area, I was honoured to receive a Commander-in-Chief Land Forces commendation. So the military really did shape my approach today. Good discipline, accountability, and a deep respect for safe systems of work. So when I joined Mitie in 2012, initially as a driver trainer, the organisation was beginning to elevate its focus on road risk. And this opened the door for me to build and improve and eventually scale capability. I moved on to lead road risk and driver education, and over time my remit grew into what it is now, and my current role is Head of QHSE Culture, Communications and Fleet Safety. So looking back over my career, you'll see that there is a consistent theme, and that is about everybody getting home safe and well at the end of the working day. It's been a journey of learning, adapting and taking every opportunity to make a positive difference, and I do still enjoy what I do today.
It is so important, isn't it? That really that's a message, is everybody getting home safely at the end of a working day. And you've managed at your time in Mitie to achieve a year-on-year decrease, haven't you, in motor incident rates, reducing the raw count, I'm right in saying, I think, by 45% over 5 years pre-COVID, and most recently, April 2025, by a further reduction in incident per million mile rate of 44%. That all sounds very impressive, but why aren't more organisations achieving the same results, do you think?
Yeah, it's another great question, and of course we should be mindful that reducing motor incidents isn't about luck. It does take discipline, strong systems, the right culture and a real dogged determination to drive improvement. And I think many organisations struggle with one or more of those areas. All too often, investigations stop at the obvious immediate cause. The driver didn't brake, the driver was fatigued, they were distracted. But real prevention only happens when you dig a little bit deeper and uncover and recognise the underlying and root causes. And they could be pressures from KPIs, communication gaps, poor supervision, training issues, or broader cultural factors that allow unsafe habits to become acceptable. In many cases, the real issues sit within the organisation, not necessarily the driver. Things like resource constraints, poor planning, inconsistent leadership and unclear expectations. Addressing those requires honesty and long-term commitment, and not every organisation invests in that. Some teams might go through the motions of an investigation, but you can never turn the findings into effective, trackable actions if that investigation is not conducted correctly. I feel that data is another missed opportunity in some organisations because, of course, without the right data, we're unable to spot the patterns, identify risk, and then, of course, intervene early and effectively. And so, therefore, some organisations lose that opportunity to coach and educate to prevent incidents before they even happen. Ultimately, reducing motor incidents takes more than policies and training. It's about a learning culture, strong leadership, quality investigations, great data, and a willingness to look beyond the driver to the wider organisation and systems. Organisations that commit to that do make real progress. Those that don't tend to stay where they are. In summary, if organisations don't change what they put in, they won't change what they get out.
That's so true. It really is, isn't it? Now, in your role, Mitie, I know that you work very closely with Driving for Better Business, who focus on the importance of employers recognising and understanding their responsibility to their staff, including drivers. As you mentioned earlier, it is a legal requirement, but not everyone realises that. There's clearly a gap in educating them. How do you think we can remedy that?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is around awareness. Many work employers don't realise that driving for work is actually their highest risk activity that their people do. And their legal obligations, their legal responsibilities for drivers are exactly the same as they are for all other work activities that they might undertake. So the question becomes, how do we get the message in front of the right people in a way that genuinely resonates with them? So I think it's important that we need to close that education gap. And we can do this by making guidance clear and more visible, giving employers practical tools and shifting the focus from simple compliance to culture, well-being and good leadership. Partnerships with programs like Driving for Better Business help to facilitate this. They help organisations to strengthen accountability. They provide access to simple, actionable resources that support safer driving. Ultimately, when the employer acknowledges that good driver safety is really about strong leadership and protecting people, that is when meaningful change happens.
Thanks very much indeed, Stefan. We're just going to take a break now to hear from Mark Cartwright, who is Head of Commercial Vehicle Incident Prevention at National Highways, and recognises how important it is for us all to work together, incorporate incident investigation and improve safety. Mark.
While we're all busy getting the job done to the best of our ability on a day-to-day basis, we all know that sometimes things go wrong. And the truth is, if we don't take the time to look at the cause of these incidents, they could cost your organisation, not just in your pocket, but also reputationally. Investigating incidents and near misses are important, and they should form part of any organisation's safety management systems. It will help you identify and understand the immediate and underlying causes, learn lessons, and share the learnings with all of your colleagues. This type of investigation will help you put measures in place, reduce chances of other incidents happening again, and further down the line could stop something similar happening again and ultimately save lives.
So thanks very much, Mark. Stefan, we've just heard there from Mark how important it is for us all to work together. Introducing behavioural change is obviously needed for some organisations that perhaps haven't recognised that. Are there any quick wins, do you think, though, to get the message across?
Yeah, absolutely. And if I can share a few examples, I think firstly, targeted toolbox talks for managers to enable them to engage with their drivers effectively on the subject of road risk and driver behaviour. So a really good comprehensive toolbox talk that covers driver behaviour and business expectations. That will equip managers to set those clear standards, but it also opens up the door to the right conversations with their teams. And this is a quick way to influence behaviour. I'd also like to include that it's really important that managers don't underestimate the influence that they have over their direct team. They really do have a significant opportunity to adjust, challenge and correct behaviours, but some managers simply underestimate the influence that they do have. It's absolutely vital. Secondly, the regular cadence of short, high-impact messages via existing communication channels is really important. So safety moments, for example, simple reminders shared through platforms like Viva Engage or email can quickly raise awareness on different subjects and reinforce the business's expectations. The beauty of those communications is that they're fast to create, they're easy to digest, and they're effective. And they also demonstrate to the driving population that the business has a genuine care about their driving colleagues. And finally, I would bring organisations' attention to the effective use of telematics and dashcam technologies. So when we look at telematics and dashcams, specifically if we have AI-enabled dashcams, they provide significant insight regarding driver behaviour and subsequent risk. Behaviours such as speeding, excessive journey durations, fatigue, distractions, illegal phone use are all indicators of bigger problems ahead. And therefore timely, focused conversations between the managers and the drivers result in immediate and often lasting correction of those risky behaviours. So, in summary, there are quick wins, they do absolutely exist, whether it's manager-led toolbox talks, bite-sized communications, data-driven interventions, or short coaching conversations, they all help to shift the behaviour, and they can shift the behaviour quickly. None of those require large programs, they just require clarity, consistency, commitment, and acting on the data that we have in front of us.
So a few quick wins there, actually. So you mentioned communications. For me, it is always key, and sometimes organisations do overlook that, don't they? But it's interesting, you talk about the considerations and steps taken to understand a workplace motor incident investigation. Some organisations may not be doing that effectively. What do you think is stopping them?
Yeah, I think it's important to acknowledge that most organisations do want to investigate well, but there are several common barriers that keep getting in the way. Some organisations struggle with a blame culture instead of a learning culture. And when they stop at immediate causes, it's easy that you don't get the most out of the investigation if we don't get to the underlying and root causes. But once that culture shifts, once people understand the benefits of those structured and well-conducted investigations, then the safety outcomes for the organisation will improve dramatically.
Now, your current role at Mitie, you are responsible for the management of road risk across the organisation, which equates to around 10,500 vehicles. How difficult is that to maintain?
Complex. Okay, so when you're responsible for road risk across an organisation the size of Mitie, with vehicles operating in every environment imaginable, the challenge isn't just the volume, it's the variability. We've got different contracts, different types of vehicles, different managers, different business pressures and different priorities across the business. And on top of that, of course, you've got thousands of drivers with different values and behaviours. But what does make it manageable is structure. Strong processes, consistent investigation standards, effective use of telematics and dash cams, and effective data analysis. Those help us to identify risk, spot patterns, and support managers to intervene as swiftly as possible. But the real difficulty, and equally the real opportunity, is around culture. You can have all the technology in the world, but unless people understand expectations, unless people buy into safe driving, unless people feel supported, the risk simply won't shift. So managing road risk at this scale is absolutely possible, but it relies on relentless communication, constant learning, and thousands of safe decisions being made by drivers, managers, and the business operation every single day.
Thank you very much for that. I know that you worked with Driving for Better Business on the Road Incident Investigation Guide, which outlined the 5 E's. And I've heard you speak about these before, but I wonder whether you'd indulge me, please, Stefan, and tell us, what are they?
Yeah, so the 5 E's of road risk management offer a simple and structured way to strengthen road safety within your organisation. And so in very simple terms, we have the first E starting with employee. And this is all about setting clear standards and expectations, making sure we give the employees the right support, specifically around their health and well-being, and ensuring that every driver understands their responsibilities. We then move on to engineering. And there are a couple of avenues here. First of all, it's about ensuring that we provide the correct vehicles that are correctly equipped, also ensuring that our sites are engineered correctly in terms of transport plans. But also engineering includes technologies and safety features. Many of these can be built into vehicles. So things like autonomous emergency braking, of course, standard now on a new build vehicle, but a few years ago they were not standard. It took commitment and investment to introduce those technologies to your fleet, but of course the benefits are significant. So once we've done employees and engineering, we move on to encouragement and enforcement. So encouragement is delivered through training, through toolbox talks, through those clear communication streams and ongoing education initiatives. Then we have enforcement, and of course enforcement being the flip side of the encouragement coin, and it's important that we apply fair and consistent and proportionate responses when standards are not met. And finally, emerging. Emerging is that continually exploring new technologies, new ideas, new opportunities to keep improving, and not necessarily always for financial benefit. Sometimes these decisions should be based on the safety of your people.
So how easy do you think, though, is it for organisations to implement them and make sure those 5 E's actually work and they use them on a daily basis?
Yeah, so the 5 E's approach is fairly straightforward to implement. The real challenge is using them consistently and over long-term periods. So most of those initiatives there don't require big budgets or major restructures. They are fundamentally built on clarity, culture, good everyday policies, procedures, practices and habits. So the difficulty isn't the model itself. The challenge is embedding it into the day-to-day rhythm of the business and staying open to new ideas and technologies to drive further improvement. So when organisations build the 5 E's into routine activities, it stops being an initiative or a programme. It becomes part of how the business operates. And of course, that is when the real impact is delivered.
It is, isn't it? Actually just embedding them, making it everyday business, isn't it? And the safety being key. Thank you so much, Stefan, for being with us again today. It's much appreciated. Hopefully see you again soon.
Thank you.
I do hope you found this Driving for Better Business video podcast interesting and useful too. To find out more, why not head to the website? It is drivingforbetterbusiness.com.
Thanks, Julie. Well, if you've enjoyed this podcast, please do like and subscribe to ensure you're notified when future episodes are released and available. Links will be provided in the show notes for any resources or documents referenced in the discussion. Until next time, from me, Glenn Tomsett, and our host, Julie Maddocks, many thanks for watching, and goodbye.